Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome to Uncommon Sense. I'm Junia and thank you for joining us today. My guest is Mark Wahl, co-founder and CEO of Cobblestone Homes, a national award-winning residential home building company in the Saginaw Bay region of Michigan. So welcome, Mark. Well, how did you get into building homes?
You know, we started out growing up in our family, we had some rental homes and I always loved working on them, and then I got into, in high school actually, starting my own and flipping houses. And upon a trip to Oklahoma where we showed horses as a hobby and sport, I met a builder there who convinced me at that time, instead of rehabbing existing homes and doing remodeling work that I was doing, to build new homes. And that's really how Cobblestone came about.
What did you have to learn in order to be able to do that?
Well, the hands-on came from the remodeling, obviously. When we looked into complete new construction, that was a little different animal, and looking at the whole house as a system was one of the things we learned. And one of the things that interested us at the time was realizing that new homes were actually being built out of date. So this is around 2000, and you're seeing a technology revolution, you're seeing cars change, about aerodynamics and fiberglass, and you're seeing homes built the same they were for the last 100 years, and wondering why there wasn't more advancements there. So a little bit of a research mind and advancing and looking at that really intrigued us, that we thought there was a market for innovation in home building with old world craftsmanship.
What innovations did you impressed you at the time?
At the time, the focus was probably, we realized, the energy. And today I consider that to be more of a rite of passage than something extra. At the time, that was like the Holy Grail. So in 2005, there was no certified listed Energy Star builders in the Great Lakes Bay region. We were the first one. And we found that the more we researched that, the more we found out that an energy efficient home doesn't just save you money, it actually is healthier when done right. It's quieter, it's more durable, it has less spider webs, it is going to be a safer home. So that really led us into, you know, hey, this was the real thing. Today that's moved more into other advancements in maybe even greater concern about sound and health. I think we need to be, Americans are very concerned about that health, and studies came out on things like childhood allergies and asthma. In the 60s, we had 4% of our childhood population had some type of allergies or asthma. Today, they say that's risen to 40%. In that same amount of time, studies have shown people are spending up to 80% more time indoors. So then we morphed into, hey, maybe there's more complete picture here in home building than we're used to. Are we building homes to be empty, or are we building homes to be occupied? Do we need to worry about indoor air quality? And we just felt like there was a real avenue for innovation and a real need. And that need's still opening up. As a country, we're just starting to realize to look at, you know, the structures we live in with a little more advancement and specificity, I guess, in how we live in them and understand what our needs are, perhaps.
How would you correct for allergies, inducing materials?
Okay, so that's a really good question, because we also know that we're more and more concerned about off-gassing of the products that go into our home and our life today. So one of the things we find is homes, we believe, need to have an air exchange system on them of some sort. Consider that the lungs of the house. And so our homes mechanically have the polluted air, if you will, mechanically pumped out of them, and clean, fresh air brought in and filtered. And you know, the solution to pollution is dilution, the old saying, and it works. And so that's probably major. Of course, you need to be concerned about the products that go into homes. And I would say that as an industry, the manufacturers have definitely, through both regulation and self-advancement, have gotten better on that in the last 10 years than maybe the previous 10. So we're seeing the curve get better. But I think we need to take responsibility as the builder as well.
Going to sound. A sound, it comes from the outside, but it's also generated inside. With the open plans that are popular these days, how do you address that?
That's a great question. We've previously done a lot to address the sound from the outside. Definitely think that that's a concern we need to look at as designing in sound. Now there's sound dampening insulation in between room walls we can do, and we always do between rooms like restrooms and laundry rooms and master bedroom walls, but truly that is a challenge, I think, is the designing in. You know, we try to look at our company in home building, look at some of what Apple has done, and Steve Jobs said Apple's really good at figuring out what people don't realize they need and then making them feel they can't live without it. I think in the home building industry, we for so long have let the consumer pull us along and drag us up as an industry, rather than show them what they even aren't aware is out there, what options they have, or what impacts their lifestyle. We think the next big thing that we can do to help people have a higher quality of life in their homes is addressing aging in place. We can build homes with basements 0 step. We can build homes.
You can?
Yes.
How do you do that?
We actually sink the floor joist within the foundation. We call it a reverse brick ledge. We can design in 0 step sidewalks.
So there are no steps?
No
you
steps
just
to get
have
in your
a
house.
ramp down?
To the basement you'd have steps, but from the garage or from the front door. You could
Yes.
and we've done elevators to basements. We've done chairlifts on the side. But even general living, these are issues that I think it's more efficient and effective to address them up front than remodel later. That's not very sustainable or cost effective to tear something out and do it when the home is older. So I think that's the next challenge is creating homes that are comfortable and easy to live in, and people want to stay in their homes. They don't want to leave their homes.
Why leave your memories?
Exactly.
When you have a 2-story house whose floor is wood at the second level, sometimes when someone walks on it, it's like thud, 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 thud down there. What is the current solution for minimalization or elimination of that sound?
Minimization obviously would be, we have seen a trend towards increase in hardwoods and solid surfaces on your flooring. I would recommend, if you want to not hear those noises above, still looking at carpets, which then you toy with the allergies and asthma. However, they're coming out, they actually have out today really good pollutant-free and carpets that clean better, pads that don't absorb dust and dust mites. That would help. You can obviously sound insulate between floors. And the new floor joist systems, they were called silent floor. That was probably a stretch by the manufacturers, a tagline. But the new floor joist systems, they don't creak. Our new homes don't creak like the older homes. If you go up there and bounce a basketball in the second floor bedroom, you're going to hear a little noise beneath you.
Interesting. I always read that newspaper was the best insulation. Is that still true, or only true in times before our more modern options?
Sure. A little bit of a pet peeve we have with all products is installation of those products is at least half of how they perform. So when you think about that, an improperly installed superior insulation isn't probably going to perform as well as a properly installed lesser insulation. So that's a challenge we've had with particularly the Energy Star program in this country, is it tended to measure what products you used more so than the independent testing of how the products were put in. And so that's a real concern, and we're getting better oversight on that and measurable stats. But with that said, newspaper, when they generally refer to that, it was shredded newspaper in a product form such as Newell is a major brand. And that's really superior on sound dampening, really good on R value, which is how long it takes heat or cold to transfer from one side of an object to another. When it comes to air sealing, and something I think right here in the Great Lakes Bay region we should be aware of, is closed cell spray foam, such as manufactured by the Dow Chemical Company, out of polyurethane, is basically a spray and glue insulation, and that's the only type of insulation that is also considered a vapor barrier, meaning it will not let air go through it. So if you go to EnergyStar.gov and follow any of their tutelage, you'll find that they say air tightness is the key. historically this country is focused on R value. And if you look to some of the European countries that have had older homes and structures and energy costs are much higher, they realize that air tightness is the key. So it's a personal opinion, but I would lean towards spray foam over the newspaper because I can seal the envelope we call the home up, and that gives me a tighter structure. A way to look at this is if you think of the insulation as glass in a fish tank.
Yes.
And if you have holes in your fish tank because it leaks, do you plug the holes? And that's where you look at air tightness.
But then what do you do to augment that for sound insulation?
Any sealed up structure is going to be better for sound. So spray foam is also going to help on sound. In fact, very well. Probably not as well as a newspaper because of the rigidity to it.
So you wouldn't do both?
I would not recommend doing both. Depending on how thick the wall assembly is, there's an issue called a dew point transfer, where if it's too thin and you actually got some air in that newspaper and it couldn't get out.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So there are a lot of challenges in home building.
There's a lot of challenges in home building.
Very creative.
There's a lot of opportunity out there and a lot of answers that aren't used.
Oh, what do you mean?
What I mean today, the greatest probably advancement is what we call a HERS rater, Home Energy Rating Specialist, and programs they call REMRate, Residential Energy Modeling or Management Software, if you want to look at that acronym. But REMRate, when they plug all of the data inputs into the software, and it's quite complex, like cubic volume of air, amount of glass on the home, what direction the home faces to the sun, items like that, and then they put in the items going in the home, and they measure the projected air tightness and test it at the end. That software will actually give you back a report on how that home is going to perform, and it's incredibly accurate as long as the data points put in are accurate. So look at it this way, as engineering the home before it's built for performance. And you wouldn't think of buying a car that the engine wasn't engineered before it was built.
Right.
And so we can do this today with them. We're doing it on every home we build, and many people are across the country. But I believe that we need to pre-engineer these homes, design in the features, and then quality control they're put in as they were designed. And then we're seeing the performance of these homes to what we projected instead of just guessing.
For aging in the home, other than no stairs and wide halls and wide door frames and swivels in the bathroom, what else are you thinking about?
Well, items
or could think about?
Well, there's things you could think about. Number one, they find is the height of the electrical plugs to reach. It's a little higher.
Like how high?
Generally, you could go another 6 to 8 inches up off the wall, and they find that it's a better reach, whether you're in a wheelchair or walker. Another item is that probably some of the biggest ones we find is microwaves and dishwashers. Getting the microwave brought down and getting the dishwasher elevated finds them easier to use.
Oh, interesting.
And in addition to that, the big one that I think people are really interested in is roll-in showers, whether they're walker-bound or in a wheelchair. A shower I don't have to step over to get into.
Yes.
So in that, it's really a design feature. Again, you can design into sink, if you will, the floor framing. So as you build that subfloor up and you're drained to that shower, you build them up where it appears to be flush with the floor, but the water actually drains down. So you're not stepping up into something.
It cants down.
Yeah.
So if a customer wants to build a home or rehab a home, how do they know that the contractor they're going to is going to hire reputable electricians and plumbers, or the licensed electrician or plumbers versus somebody else? That's
a great question. I do sit on the state licensing board where we actually, unfortunately, have to see the offenders of that. And we're blessed here in the Great Lakes Bay region. I think that we don't have a lot of offenders. I think in your larger metropolitan areas, you see more of that. But I would also mention, definitely, it's also about, is that contractor a good fit for you? Like, we're not right for everybody. We think we're right for our target audience, but I would recommend, if it's a good fit, then checking them out. I mean, checking out their references, their reputation, looking at their work. You can go online to the state licensing board and see if there's blemishes on their license, and I think that's a good idea. I believe also that referrals several referrals, you can start to get a feel about, is that a good fit for you in town? But no, the industry does not have super regulation around checking out. And
So they wouldn't ask the contractor to see the electric license or the plumber license, or?
I guess you could. Those two major ones. Now remodel's a little different.
Right.
Technically, none of that work should be done without a licensed individual and should be inspected. It's going to be pretty impossible to get a new home built today without, we need 3 licenses: a general contractor, the builder,
Right.
Mechanical contractor, and the electrical. So it's pretty unlikely you're going to get, they have, from a safety point of view, the inspections are pretty well done on that end. I think what people don't realize from a quality point of view, that is absolutely not the building inspector's responsibility at all.
I see. And how does a customer or even a contractor know it's a good fit? What do you look for in that relationship or meeting? Or are there questions you should ask?
Exactly. I think homes are like, I like to use the analogy of the auto industry, and there's Chevrolet cars and there's Audi and BMW cars. And for some reason, when we go to automobiles, we're okay with that. But when we go and look at housing, we tend to lump it all together. And so definitely touring that builder's product and work, and also, and I think so much of it's relationship based. The one difference in home building and other products, there's several differences. So I'll say one of the greatest ones we find, though, is we are the only type of work where we bring to the end user and put our product together. So imagine if someone came to your driveway and every day showed up and started assembling your new car.
Well, what does that mean in terms of building?
Meaning in terms of building, we have to deal with the elements. You're going to view the home, your new home, at all stages.
Oh.
Your car coming down the line had some what we like to call ugly duckling days, right?
Yes.
So you need to see the end use of that product, but you're going to see the whole process being done. So understanding along the way, I think there's a little bit more of a personal relationship. Are you going to be comfortable with the working with your contractor and understanding when you have a question and understanding the process? Because you're going to be involved in the process.
Yes.
We think our process is one thing we've worked on the last few years to improve from. We feel that one reason people weren't building new homes is they didn't want to go through all the hassle. It was easier to buy a home. So we said, what are we going to do about that? And so in tune, we put in our own interior design studio, hired interior designer, brought our CAD design in-house, and that allowed us to be a little more turnkey and make the best use of our clients' time, but they're still going to watch that home being built and want to make sure along the way they're comfortable to have all their questions answered during that process. Unlike their car, they're going to pick it out if they order a car or buy one off the floor, and they're going to see it when they have the end product.
Sometime after, when did you build out by the senior citizen area north of town, where that small development? It's out North Saginaw Road. I can't remember whether it's not Perrine, whatever the major thing is. Anyway, my late husband and I were touring there because of other reasons. I said, oh, there seems to be a little development over there. Let's drive over. And so we went, and it was so cute, and it was so beautiful. Then we drove in our Suburban, and different people waved, and I said, the design here is so wonderful. Who did this? Who did this?
That's
and it was you or your group.
Well, thank you. And it is a group. I get way too much credit. So we have found that exterior design, and there is a pretty wide array today, from craftsman to traditional. We think modern farm is the next big thing for our area. Definitely prairie, which is a hint of almost Frank Lloyd Wright or contemporary, if you will. There's all those out there. Popularity's been about 80% in craftsman lately. But getting the massing right is one thing I think that's gotten better in this area for us in the last 5 or 6 years than previously. And what I mean by massing is the window trim the proper size for the window in the size house? Is the door sized appropriately? Is the garage door not only sized for the convenient to use, but the right size for the height of that garage? And so we do have a team of people that we've put together. And in addition to our in-house CAD design, we work with an architect out of Bloomfield Hills. They come up at least quarterly, if not every other month. With the internet, technology is so great. We shoot stuff back and forth, and we found it's those little details that have really made those homes have a real difference in look and stand out. And the reality is, in a competitive world, and we find our biggest competition is the existing home market. Really, when you think about
really?
that, for every one new home built, there's 4 to 5 used real estate transactions. So we have to grab that attention, on the outside first. You have to want that home before you walk in it, I guess is what I'm.
And you have to view it as a pleasurable experience.
Exactly.
Which I do, of course. But no, I think it's very creative to build a home or even rehab a home, which has more restrictions.
Yep.
But anyway, you're a big asset to the community. What is farm modern? What
modern
kind of
farm, in the challenge of that is a lot of those are white, and how many white homes can you do? But when you think about modern farm, restoration hardware catalog, the interior those are modern farm. So you're going to see chrome fixtures, which people think went out 15 years ago. You see chrome fixtures, apron sinks, yet with those they're going to have a hardwood floor that's either distressed. Features like white subway tile, Galvalume. One thing that always jumps out at us is a really neat feature that is a Galvalume, which is the silver, standing seam seal roof on accents porch or over windows. So think about a 150-year-old farmhouse rehabbed to the nines.
Why did they call them, I think, farmer sinks?
Yes.
Why did it always stick out?
I honestly don't know, but the apron sink, the farmer's apron sink has been that way. And I'm assuming it's because they were working in the sink and the cast iron came down and glazed so the water splashing didn't beat up the wood of the cabinet material. But that's an assumption.
That is an assumption. Mm-hmm. And how does your design team get their ideas? Do they read?
Oh my gosh, you name it. Melissa, my wife, who is our my partner in this as well, who does a lot of our design. She and one of our interior designers went to Philadelphia for a conference this year. We've been to Chicago twice this year. We have a group of builder friends all over the country. There's about 20 of us that share ideas. We find that a lot of the interiors come out of Dallas and the West Texas and the West Coast, but then of course you have your East Coast trends.
Yes.
I think if you really want to see where things are going, magazines like Restoration Hardware, Ballards, getting away from just the housing magazines. Architectural Digest is great, but just really having that keen eye to where you think things are coming along. And
you started all this with your wife.
Correct.
And do you sort of divide responsibilities?
We do.
Along what
actually.
lines?
And that's an interesting divide because it's a little different than probably most builders that are definitely family owned. I head up a lot of our long-term stuff, so where we think we're going to be in a year plus. I head up marketing and sales, and Melissa, my wife, heads up operations. And
really?
Yeah, she does. And so our project managers, and it's really organized today, but I used to refer to it as adult daycare. But so she heads up the scheduling day to day. We've found managing the process she's a little better at. I'm more of an idea guy, and I think most small builders that start out are that way. And so one thing we take a lot of pride in is we don't have a lot of empty nest days where nothing's happening on that home. It's not I don't believe it should be a rush to build a beautiful custom home, but people aren't happy if it's going a week and 2 weeks and nobody's showing up. So she's better at that than me. She handles the master schedule, and she handles the operations, which falls under that, herself and our interior designers that do the basically interior finishes. We share in the architectural design. There's probably 4 of us in there that we arm wrestle over that. Before I came today, we were struggling over a garage roof on a model home we want to start soon. So.
And who does she does the managing of the team on site?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, that's.
We've been really blessed with technology in that area, and I've seen a major shift. The downside of the slight crash or recession in home building, if you will, was that I can remember when we were trying to bring some of our ideas in both product and process into the area, and a trade partner would say to us, Yeah, I'm not doing that, and I just don't need to do your work. After there was a shortage of work, all of our attitudes changed, and we said, how do we do this together? And as our company grew, I really believe our quality control was really able to improve, not decrease, because we were able to do what we call isolated trade partners. So like our electrician only works for us. That allows us to show how we do things differently and keep the quality there.
Right.
In turn with that, if you show up on a cobblestone site today, I would bet on average you'll see 3 to 5 iPads. Our plumbers, our heating contractors, you name it, they have an iPad. Our schedule is all cloud-based and updated daily. And our home plans, while they do still work off a big plan through framing, after that, our home plans, you're to look at them on your iPad, because if something changes, we're able to pull that off the cloud, put up the correct change, and you can only view the correct plan.
I love it. So there's a lot to say. First of all, building can be fun if you do it with a quality person. Secondly, there are trends in design, and there are trends in fabrication and materials, so be careful and mindful of that. But many resources. Energy has certainly been an issue. He works with his wife. Bless all of you. Go work together. See you next time. Bye-bye.
To contact Junia, send her an email at info@juniadoan.com. For more information, program schedules, and news about future guests, go to www.juniadoan.com. Thanks for joining us. See you next time for Uncommon Sense with Junia Doan.
Local productions on QTV are made possible with support from viewers like you. Thank you.